Now just to repeat that last argument I discussed, I said Dawkins may be wrong, or is very likely to be wrong, with his view that our morals are derived from dinner party conversations, congressional votes, important Supreme Court decisions, and newspaper editorials, because I said that morals have a causal power. You want to, the bad guy doing bad stuff gives you a bad feeling, and you want to prevent the bad guy from doing bad stuff. You want to stop the bad guy. Now, if morals have that causal power, and if morals are derived from the entities that Dawkins proposes, then how can the dinner party conversation results, or how can a newspaper editorial or congressional vote or some revolutionary new better Supreme Court judgment verdict, how can they exercise that causal power? I said if they just install the morals in us, these entities just install the morals, and then the moral power comes from the morals, then it would still be too abstract that what the morals are. This is still too abstract to explain the moral, the causal power. And I also said that, well, they may have that causal power indirectly through sanctions. I concentrated in the last part on the sanctions of police and justice, but you may also want to concentrate on the social sanctions. If you don't dislike the bad guy, or if you don't prevent him from doing bad stuff, then you will be disliked by your neighbors. They won't look at you anymore. But then, is this really the direction that it works? This social sanctioning? Is this really the primary step in the generation of our morals? Isn't it somehow arbitrary in that direction? The social sanction may be completely arbitrary, maybe random. But it isn't. It somehow it conforms. It is in line with the moral sentiment that we have about bad actions, about the bad guy. So does it really work through that? If you can imagine that the social sanctioning may be completely random, there is nothing that guides it. What would guide it but the moral sentiment from the individual itself, from hence the social sanctioning system? In the other way, it's completely unclear. That is, of course, a bad argument. The I don't see how this works fallacy, but in a way, it seems valid to me here. Where does the moral sanctioning system come from if it is not from the individual sentiment that is adaptive? Some moral sentiments that have been adaptive and that have been very, very much that were very good for forming a social sanctioning system. But the social sanctioning system is not at the first, or also the police and justice system, bad however they may be in some and many even in civilized countries and in dictatorships. Bad as they may be, they may somehow have been developed by this instinct from the individual. Otherwise, they're completely random. So it cannot explain the causal power. The causal power must come from the inside of the individual, not from the outside. Again, this was just a claim to rescue, to save Dawkins's position that morals or that shifts in the moral zeitgeist come from dinner party conversation results, newspaper editorials, and so on. I don't think that it has any chance of being saved, that claim. But now I will also discuss. I'd also discuss the question, the second question that I already introduced in the first part. The second question, that is, well, let's assume that that our morals do come from dinner party conversation results, from newspaper editorials, from congressional votes, or from Supreme Court decisions. But then how did the Supreme Court judges arrive at their new view? How did the dinner party talkers arrive at their new moral vision? How did they arrive at that? And I can't help thinking that the way in which I'd like to answer that question influences the view we take at Dawkins's claim that our morals are derived from these dinner party conversations and the newspaper editorials. Because now let me get into that. There are some options here. There are some possibilities about the sources, the moral sources for these entities, for the dinner party talkers, for the newspaper editor, the Supreme Court judge, and the Congress member. There are some options that they have of getting their morals from. Let me discuss the first one. They may get them from some kind of better understanding. Dinner party talkers or Congress members may have a better understanding about the physical, chemical, emotional, and psychological facts of humans, of life. They may be better observers. Moral authorities are often good observers, critical thinkers, and so on. But if this is so, then do we really get our morals from the newspaper editor? In that instance, in this very example, do we get it from the Congress member who is a better observer? Well, in the way in which we get our electricity from the socket, or our milk from the supermarket, or well, from the milk person, or well, mother brings it. You can answer a child's question like that. Well, the electricity comes from the socket in your room, or something like that. But in some interesting sense about where our morals are derived from, can we really say that in that, given that perspective, we get our morals from the newspaper editor, if she has some better grasp of the physical, chemical, emotional, or psychological facts or factual complexities of humans, if they see who suffers from such and such an action and so on, do we really get them from the editor? Well, in that sense that electricity comes from the socket, yes, but not in the interesting sense that then morals in that case are derived from factual things, or from some factual contexts, not from the authority, the dinner party conversation guy, or other institutions or people. Of course, you do get the milk from the supermarket or the electricity from your socket, but this doesn't really answer the question, where does the milk, where does the electricity come from? Is this really what we mean by asking the question, where do we get our morality from? It does answer it, but only in a very primitive sense. Our second option for where the Supreme Court judge gets his morality from, where the editor of the newspaper gets her morality, gets her new moral view from, another answer or option could be that it comes from God, but I will not discuss that. But a third option can be, I'll discuss the third option in a fourth part. I give give the third option in a minute.